This chapter we will learn how to create a user login component and tie it with the user login API. First, create a new file named login.js in your components layout folder. Type RAFCE shortcut key to generate the component function. The shortcut key comes from Visual Studio Code extension. It is called ES7 React Redux Snippets. It is quite useful to save time for typing code. Now let's get the HTML templates from Bootstrap official websites. Select the sign in page. Right-click to view source code. Copy the HTML markup between min tags. Paste into login components between return statements. Next step, search and replace all the class attributes into class name and close all HTML tags. Otherwise, it will cause compiling errors. After having done that, let's import the extra style sheet. Go back to template page. In source code, click the external CSS link. Copy all the styling. Next, create a new file named login.css in the same folder with login.js. Paste the styling code. Next step, import the new CSS file into login.js file on the top. Next, we need to define a root for login page. Open app.js file and the root folder. Import login components. Define a new root path /login rendered by login components. Start both backend and front-end server. Our page shows some errors about user login in Reducer. In reducer.js file and the reducers folder. In last chapter, we forgot to add the default case for switch statements. Let's fix this by adding the missing default case. There is also another typo from last chapter video. In backend controllers folder, open user controller.js file. Find login user function. Scroll down to the bottom. The last statement returning JSON data. Add user variable. We will need this one in later video. Next step, open login.js component in the components layout folder. First, to import few libraries required for this component. It includes use states, use effect hooks from React, use history hook from React Router DOM. Also use dispatch, use selector hooks from React Redux. Import login function from user action file. Import toast function from React Toastfile library. Inside the login function, create two state variables, email and passwords. Also, their callback functions, set email and set passwords. Set their default values to empty strings. Define dispatch variable by using use dispatch hook Next, extract two variables is authenticated and error from useSelectHook function. useSelectHook function returns some data from states, usually not all of them. Here we only need two variables. We also define a history variable by using useHistoryHook function. Next statement, calling useEffectHook function. It has callback function as first parameter. Second parameter is an array as dependencies. Inside useEffect a callback function. First, to check the boolean value of is authenticated variable. Is it true or false? If it is true, it will call history function to navigate current URL to home page /. If error has value, it means something went wrong. It will call toast function to generate a notification window with error message. Inside the array of dependencies, it has three items. Dispatch is authenticated and error. If any of them, its value is updated, it will trigger current component re-rendering. Next function is called submitHandler. This function will be called when the form is submitted. It has event variable as parameter. Event.preventDefault function will stop browser default action to handle form submitting. It is plain JavaScript, nothing to do with React.js. After that, calling dispatch function to invoke login action. Next, two functions, email handler and password handler. They are almost identical. They both call useStateHook function to set email and password values. Their values event.target.value are from user text input fields. These two functions will be attached to email and password text input fields. They will be triggered by unchanged event. Don't forget to set up their input field values equal to state variables. In HTML, label has attributes named for. It specifies which form elements a label is bound to. But in React.js, it needs to be changed to HTML4 camel case. Now we have finished the login components. Let's start backend and front-end servers to test it out. Next chapter, we will learn how to store JSON Web Token in cookies.